The crystal chandelier caught the exact moment his hand moved toward the concealed weapon. Alicia noticed it first, the slight bulge beneath the tailored jacket, the 2 calculated steps across Haversham Hall's marble floor as the stranger approached the Mafia boss. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she balanced champagne flutes on her serving tray, scanning the room with practiced precision. Working high-end events had taught her to read a room like a battlefield map, each guest's posture telegraphing intent, while Debussy's notes floated through the air like glass butterflies. The stranger's eyes never left their target, his movements too deliberate for casual socializing. The Mafia boss stood near the west window, his broad shoulders silhouetted against Chesapeake Bay's moonlit waters, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a half-empty whiskey glass, his presence commanding the space around him without a single word. Alicia moved through the crowd with practiced invisibility, her black uniform blending into shadows between the wealthy and powerful, her tray of champagne a perfect alibi for approaching anyone. She calculated exactly 30 seconds before the assassin would reach his position, 30 seconds to prevent bloodshed that would shatter the polished veneer of Maryland's elite gathering. The assassin was now 20 paces away, fingers already twitching toward his concealed holster, eyes fixed on the back of the boss's expertly tailored suit, while diplomatic smiles and quiet laughter masked the approaching violence. Whispered conversations and tinkling glasses became a muted backdrop as Alicia slid between 2 laughing senators, her movements fluid and determined, the weight of warning heavy on her tongue as she approached the man whose enemies filled obituaries. The Mafia boss nodded politely to a congressman's wife, his expression giving away nothing of the empire he controlled from shadow-filled rooms and late-night meetings. His reputation preceded him, ruthless efficiency wrapped in expensive cologne, the kind of man whose whispers sparked fear in men twice his size. Without hesitation, Alicia angled through a cluster of diplomats, her movements fluid and purposeful as she approached the Mafia boss. She dipped slightly, offering him a fresh whiskey, while leaning close enough that only he could hear her urgent whisper, "He's armed. He's almost next to you. Don't turn around. Kitchen exit." The boss's face remained impassive, not a single muscle betraying recognition of her warning, yet his fingers lingered deliberately as he exchanged glasses, a microscopic pause that acknowledged the message before he casually turned toward the service corridor, maintaining a conversational pace that suggested nothing more than a man seeking refreshment. The assassin faltered, momentarily confused by his target's casual departure, his hand freezing beneath his jacket as he calculated his next move. The perfect kill shot was evaporating with each step the boss took toward the kitchen's swinging doors. Alicia continued her rounds, heart thundering in her chest while maintaining a serene exterior, pouring champagne for a congressman who never looked at her face. She counted seconds silently, waiting for the inevitable sound that would follow, wondering if she had just altered fate or merely postponed it with her impulsive intervention. A muffled thud echoed from the kitchen corridor, so subtle that only those listening for it would notice beneath the orchestra's crescendo. The assassin's eyes darted toward the sound, his composure cracking as he abandoned his position and slipped toward the eastern corridor. The clock on the wall ticked forward while Alicia moved mechanically through her serving duties, her mind racing with questions about what she had just done. Had she saved a criminal, condemned an assassin, or simply postponed an inevitable conclusion to their deadly chess match? She glanced toward the kitchen door, searching for any sign of what had transpired, when she caught the Mafia boss re-entering the ballroom through a side entrance. His tie was perfectly straight, his expression calm, but something in his right hand glinted briefly before disappearing into his pocket. The Haversham Hall continued its elegant charade, crystal glasses reflecting candlelight as if nothing had happened, while somewhere behind its marble facade, Alicia knew a confrontation had occurred. The Mafia boss rejoined his associates, accepting congratulations on some business venture with a modest nod. His eyes, however, scanned the room with new intensity, eventually finding Alicia among the service staff. The look lasted only a second, perhaps less, but in it was a silent acknowledgement, a recognition that transcended their worlds. Their unexpected alliance hung in the air between them, invisible to everyone else, amid the elegant chatter and floating music. Alicia felt the weight of his attention like a physical touch as she moved between tables, wondering if she had inadvertently become entangled in something far beyond her understanding. The assassin had vanished completely, leaving behind only the lingering question of who had sent him and whether they would try again. Alicia's thoughts raced as she navigated the crowded ballroom, wondering if her impulsive warning had made her a target as well, or if the night would simply fold over this moment like water closing over a stone. She carefully avoided looking directly at the Mafia boss again, though she remained acutely aware of his position in the room at all times. It was like developing a sixth sense, knowing exactly where the most dangerous person stood without having to confirm it visually. The event coordinator appeared beside her, clipboard in hand, reminding Alicia of her duty to help with dessert service. "Everything all right?" "You seem distracted," the woman said, her professionally pleasant smile not quite reaching her eyes as she studied Alicia's face. Alicia nodded quickly, forcing herself back into her role as if she hadn't just altered the course of at least 2 lives with 4 whispered words. "Just tired," she replied, knowing the coordinator wouldn't care enough to question further, as long as the service continued without disruption. As the evening progressed toward its inevitable conclusion, guests began departing in waves of expensive perfume and hushed goodbyes. Alicia moved through the thinning crowd, collecting abandoned glasses and keeping her focus deliberately away from the corner where the Mafia boss was concluding his business. She felt rather than saw him leave, a subtle shift in the room's energy, like pressure changing before a storm. When she glanced up, he was gone, leaving behind only the lingering impression of power contained within perfect tailoring. The staff began the efficient dance of cleanup, transforming the elegant ballroom back to its empty state. Alicia worked mechanically, her mind elsewhere, replaying the moment of warning over and over, questioning her own motives and wondering what consequences might follow her home. Outside, the night had deepened, bringing with it a thick mist that rolled in from Chesapeake Bay. Alicia changed from her uniform in the staff room, pulled her coat tight around her shoulders, and stepped into the parking lot, keys clutched in her fist as security had taught in employee orientation. The fog transformed familiar shapes into looming shadows, each car becoming an indistinct hulk in the diffused glow of distant streetlights. She moved quickly, sensing rather than seeing movement at the periphery of her vision, a heightened awareness making every sound seem magnified. Her car stood alone at the far end of the lot, and as she approached, the unmistakable silhouette of a man leaning against her driver's door emerged from the mist. Her steps faltered as recognition dawned. The broad shoulders and commanding presence of the Mafia boss were unmistakable, even in the hazy darkness. He straightened as she approached, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "I believe we have unfinished business," he said, his voice surprisingly soft, yet carrying an undeniable authority that made the parking lot seem even more isolated than it was. Alicia's breath caught in her throat as she stood frozen, keys digging into her palm, calculating whether she should run. The Mafia boss seemed to read her thoughts, raising one hand in a calming gesture that somehow made her more nervous. "I'm not here to harm you," he said, the gentleness in his voice contrasting with the cold efficiency she'd witnessed earlier. "I'm here to thank you, and to warn you that the man who came after me tonight wasn't working alone." The mist swirled around them, creating an intimate pocket in the otherwise empty parking lot, a strange bubble where their worlds had collided. Alicia found her voice, surprised by its steadiness. "I don't want to be involved in whatever this is. I was just doing what anyone would do." He laughed softly, the sound unexpected and surprisingly warm. What anyone would do? "No, that's where you're wrong. Most people would have looked away, pretended not to see what was happening, especially when it involved someone like me." His eyes studied her with curious intensity. The distant sound of car doors slamming made them both turn toward the main entrance. More staff would be leaving soon, breaking the strange isolation that had wrapped around them like the bay's mist. "We don't have much time," he said, reaching into his jacket pocket and withdrawing a small business card. "If you notice anything unusual, anyone watching you, following you, asking questions, call this number immediately, day or night." Alicia hesitated before accepting the card, its weight in her hand seeming disproportionate to its size. The embossed surface bore only a phone number, no name, no business, the anonymity somehow more intimidating than any title could have been. "Why would anyone come after me?" she asked, though part of her already knew the answer. She had interfered in something dangerous, saved someone important, and in doing so, potentially made herself a loose end in someone else's carefully constructed plan. His expression softened slightly, the first genuine emotion she'd seen cross his face. "Because you saw him clearly enough to identify him, and because you helped me. That makes you valuable to both sides of a conflict you stumbled into by accident." The card felt heavy in her hand as she slipped it into her coat pocket, wondering if accepting it meant crossing some invisible line. "I just want to go home and forget this happened," she said, though even as the words left her mouth, She knew forgetting wasn't an option. He stepped away from her car with fluid grace, allowing her access to the driver's door. Unfortunately, that's no longer possible. Be careful, keep your eyes open, and remember, that number is your lifeline if you need it. His tone made it clear that she might. As she unlocked her car, he added one final comment that sent a chill through her despite the warmth of her coat. The man tonight, he wasn't just an assassin. He was a message. Someone's making a move against my family, and now, like it or not, you're connected. Alicia slid behind the wheel, locking the doors immediately as the Mafia boss disappeared back into the mist. Her hands trembled slightly as she started the engine, the events of the evening settling over her with new weight and significance. The drive home through Annapolis felt surreal, familiar streets transformed by her heightened awareness. At each stoplight, she found herself scanning surrounding vehicles, a new paranoia taking root as she considered the implications of his warning. Her small apartment, normally a sanctuary after long shifts, now seemed vulnerable with its ground floor windows and simple locks. She checked each room methodically upon entering, then double-checked the deadbolt before sinking onto her couch, the business card held between trembling fingers. Sleep eluded Alicia that night, her mind replaying the events at Haversham Hall on an endless loop. The business card sat on her nightstand, its embossed number catching the faint glow of streetlights filtering through her curtains. Morning brought no clarity, only the harsh reality that she needed to continue her normal routine despite the extraordinary circumstances. Her university classes wouldn't pause for her unexpected entanglement with the criminal underworld, nor would her mounting student loans forgive themselves. The campus buzzed with ordinary activity, students rushing between classes, professors debating theoretical concepts, all blissfully unaware of the dangerous knowledge Alicia now carried. She found herself studying faces with new intensity, wondering if any unfamiliar gaze lingered too long. Her phone vibrated during her afternoon economics lecture, the screen displaying a message from her event coordinator. Another high-profile gathering at Chesapeake Bay Club tomorrow night. Attendance mandatory for all senior staff. Alicia's stomach tightened. The assignment would put her back in the orbit of the same social circles, the same dangers. Professor Weiss paused mid-lecture, his eyes finding hers. Ms. Bennett, perhaps you'd like to share your thoughts on dynamic market equilibrium with the class. His question yanked her back to the present, dozens of eyes turning toward her expectantly. She stumbled through a response, academic terminology feeling foreign compared to the stark language of survival that had dominated her thoughts. The professor's skeptical expression made it clear her answer fell short, but he moved on, leaving her to sink back into the protective anonymity of the lecture hall. The day progressed with excruciating normalcy, each mundane interaction feeling like an act in a play she no longer understood. At the campus coffee shop, Alicia found herself strategically selecting a corner table with her back to the wall, a clear view of all entrances. Her roommate noticed the change immediately when Alicia returned to their apartment, dropping her backpack by the door with unusual caution. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Rachel commented, pausing the crime documentary she'd been watching. Irony completely lost on her. Alicia manufactured a story about stress and midterms, words flowing easily while her attention focused on a car that had parked across the street, its driver remaining inside with the engine off. The habit of observation that had saved the Mafia boss was now triggering alarm bells in her own life. As evening approached, she found herself checking the locks twice, then drawing the curtains fully closed, small actions that wouldn't stop someone determined but offered the illusion of security. The business card seemed to pulse with potential energy from her nightstand, both threat and promise. Sleep came in fitful bursts, each noise from the street jolting her awake, each dream transitioning into scenarios of pursuit. By dawn, exhaustion had settled into her bones, but so had a newfound resolve. She would not be a passive participant in whatever game was unfolding. The Chesapeake Bay Club loomed in her thoughts as she dressed for her morning class, its waterfront location and exclusive clientele creating the perfect backdrop for another potential confrontation. She tucked the business card into her wallet, a reluctant acknowledgement that she might need the connection. Local news played in the background as she gathered her books, the anchor's voice suddenly catching her attention. Police are investigating an incident at the Haversham Hall from 2 nights ago, where security cameras captured suspicious activity in the service corridors. Authorities have released no official statement, but sources suggest a connection to organized crime activity in the area. The casual mention sent a chill through her. What had been an intimate, isolated moment of danger was now moving into public awareness. Alicia turned off the television, wondering if her face had been captured on those security cameras, if her warning had been recorded. Before leaving the apartment, she made a decision that felt both reckless and necessary. She memorized the number on the business card, then carefully burned it in her bathroom sink, washing the ashes away. Whatever came next, she wouldn't leave physical evidence of her connection to him. The Chesapeake Bay Club glittered with even more opulence than Haversham Hall, its waterfront location offering spectacular sunset views that the wealthy guests largely ignored. Alicia moved through her serving duties mechanically, hyper-aware of every unfamiliar face. Her supervisor assigned her to the main ballroom, where politicians mingled with business leaders beneath chandeliers that cast prismatic patterns across marble floors. The room's layout offered fewer service exits than Haversham Hall, a detail she catalogued automatically, calculating escape routes. 3 hours into the event, nothing unusual had occurred beyond the standard excess of the privileged. Alicia had almost convinced herself that the previous night had been an aberration when a staff member approached with a sealed black envelope. "This was left for you at the service entrance," he said, curiosity evident in his expression. The envelope bore no name, only a small silver wax seal with an intricate design she didn't recognize. Alicia slipped it into her pocket, heart racing as she excused herself to the staff bathroom, locking the door before carefully breaking the seal. Inside was a single sheet of heavy cream paper bearing an elegant script, Northern Parking Area, 11:15 p.m. "Critical information regarding your safety." No signature, but she knew instantly who had sent it. The handwriting matched the confident authority of the man who had waited by her car. The silver wax seal had broken to reveal a tiny object embedded within, a delicate silver pendant in the shape of a key, attached to a fine chain. Alicia studied it with confusion, uncertain of its significance, but understanding it was deliberate, not decorative. The clock in the hallway showed 10:47 p.m. as she emerged from the bathroom, the pendant now concealed beneath her uniform, its weight unfamiliar against her skin. She resumed her duties with heightened awareness, counting minutes while arranging dessert trays with trembling fingers. At precisely 11:10, Alicia informed her supervisor she needed a brief break, citing a headache that wasn't entirely fabrication. The northern parking area was reserved for catering staff, separated from the main lot by a row of carefully manicured hedges, offering both privacy and vulnerability. Fog had rolled in from the bay again, wrapping the world in cotton silence as she stepped outside, the pendant warm against her skin from contact. The parking lot appeared empty at first glance, until a subtle movement near the service entrance caught her eye. Not the Mafia boss this time, but a woman, tall, elegant, with short auburn hair, and the same dangerous confidence he had exhibited. She wore a driver's uniform but carried herself with too much authority to be mistaken for mere staff, her posture suggesting military training beneath the civilian disguise. "You're the waitress," the woman stated, no question in her tone as she assessed Alicia with clinical precision. "I've been instructed to deliver information and ensure your immediate relocation to a secure location. We have confirmation that you've been identified." Alicia took an instinctive step backward, suspicion overriding curiosity. Identified by whom? And why should I trust you? Her hand moved to the pendant beneath her uniform, wondering if it was some kind of tracking device rather than protection. The woman's expression didn't change, but something in her posture softened slightly. "By the Landon family's rivals. The pendant you're wearing, it marks you as under protection. Anyone in our organization who sees it is bound to assist you, even at personal risk." Her gaze dropped to where Alicia's fingers touched the chain. The name Landon connected pieces in Alicia's mind. News reports she'd skimmed, whispered conversations between wealthy patrons, the respected shipping magnate whose philanthropy masked darker enterprises. She now had a name for the Mafia boss whose life she had saved. Memories of a charity auction she had worked last semester flashed through her mind. Landon Industries had donated a yacht excursion that raised 6 figures for children's cancer research. The newspaper had photographed him presenting the check, his smile calculated for the cameras, while his eyes remained watchful. The pendant's weight seemed to increase with this knowledge, its delicate chain now feeling like an invisible tether, connecting her to a world operating in shadows, beneath polished marble floors. Alicia touched it cautiously, wondering what other symbols existed in this parallel society she had unwittingly entered. Wind gusted across the parking lot, carrying the salt tang of the bay and distant strains of music from the ongoing gala. Such normal sensations felt surreal against the gravity of her current situation. Standing in fog-shrouded darkness, discussing protection symbols with a Mafia boss's representative. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, her supervisor wondering about her extended break, the ordinary world still expecting her compliance with its routines. even as extraordinary circumstances unfolded around her. The message represented a final tether to normalcy that was rapidly fraying with each passing second. "I'm not going anywhere with you," Alicia stated firmly, years of caution around strangers overriding the new dangers pressing in from all sides. The woman seemed unperturbed by her refusal, as if she'd anticipated this exact response. A sleek black car idled nearby, its engine a quiet purr in the misty night. "Mr. Landon anticipated your reluctance," the driver said, reaching into her jacket to produce a sealed phone. "He asked that you speak with him directly if you had concerns." The phone was unlike any Alicia had seen before. No visible brand, no standard icons on its display, just a secure call connection already established. Her hand trembled slightly as she accepted it, raising it to her ear with a strange sense of crossing another threshold. His voice came through immediately, that same quiet authority she remembered from the parking lot. "I understand your hesitation, but you need to leave with Diane now. The people looking for you aren't known for their subtlety or mercy." Alicia glanced toward the Bay Club, its windows glowing with warmth and normality, a world she could still return to if she handed back the phone and walked away. "I have classes tomorrow. I have a life that can't just disappear because I made a split-second decision to warn you." A brief silence followed, then. "The man you saw at Haversham Hall worked for the Kiernan family. They've identified you from security footage and sent 2 operatives to your apartment building an hour ago. Your roommate told them you were working tonight." Cold fear washed through her at the mention of Rachel, innocent and oblivious to the danger. "Is my roommate okay?" Alicia asked, her voice barely audible above the distant sound of waves against the shore. The answer came with reassuring certainty. "She's fine. Their interest is in you, not her. But if you return home or to campus, you'll put everyone around you at risk. The pendant you're wearing offers protection within my organization, but it's worthless against our enemies." Reality crashed down with brutal finality. Her normal life had already slipped away the moment she'd noticed the assassin's movement across Haversham Hall. The choices now were merely about survival, not convenience or preference. Diane stood patiently by the car door, her expression neutral but alert, constantly scanning their surroundings with professional vigilance. The fog had thickened, transforming the parking lot into an otherworldly limbo between Alicia's former life and whatever awaited. "What about my education, my job, my future?" Alicia asked, knowing even as the words left her mouth that these concerns seemed suddenly trivial compared to immediate survival. The life she had carefully constructed was unraveling with breathtaking speed. Moonlight filtered through the fog in scattered beams, casting Diane's face in alternating shadow and silver as she maintained her vigilant watch. The driver's composure spoke of years navigating dangerous waters, a professional who had likely extracted others from similar situations countless times before. In the distance, a ship's horn sounded, 3 long, mournful notes that seemed to echo Alicia's farewell to her carefully constructed independence. She had chosen her university for its economics program, worked double shifts to avoid crushing loan debt, maintained perfect attendance despite exhaustion, all part of a methodical plan now dissolving into mist. The leather interior of the waiting car gleamed with subtle luxury, its dashboard displaying technology that appeared military-grade rather than consumer-available. A small screen showed thermal imaging of the surrounding area, red silhouettes moving in the direction of the service entrance with purposeful strides. Alicia's server uniform suddenly felt like a costume from another life, starched collar and polished buttons representing a role she had played rather than the person she was becoming. She straightened her shoulders unconsciously, the gesture small but significant, a physical acceptance of the transformation being forced upon her by circumstances beyond her control. His answer held unexpected compassion beneath its pragmatism. "All can be reclaimed once this situation is resolved. Right now you need to disappear until we eliminate the threat. I owe you that much for what you did at Haversham." Diane checked her watch, a subtle gesture that communicated urgency without words. "Mr. Landon, we need to move now." "Security cameras show 2 men entering the service corridor from the east entrance," she said, loud enough for both of them to hear. Alicia's decision crystallized in an instant, options narrowing to a single path forward. "Where am I going?" she asked, already moving toward the passenger door that Diane held open, the mist swallowing her previous life with each step. The voice on the phone held the first hint of relief she'd heard from him. "Somewhere safe, somewhere they won't look for you. I'll meet you there when it's secure to do so. Remember, you saw something no one else noticed. Trust that instinct going forward." The line disconnected as Alicia slipped into the car's leather interior, the door closing with a solid thunk that seemed to seal her fate. Diane took the driver's seat, the vehicle pulling away from the Bay Club with smooth acceleration, just as two men in catering uniforms emerged from the service entrance, scanning the parking lot with predatory intensity. The car moved swiftly through Annapolis's fog-shrouded streets, taking unpredictable turns and doubling back several times before heading toward the coastline. Diane drove with calm precision, occasionally checking the rearview mirror, but offering no conversation as Alicia struggled to process her new reality. After 40 minutes of silence, they turned onto a private drive hidden by ancient oak trees, their branches creating a natural canopy that concealed whatever lay beyond. The road ended at a modest waterfront property, not the mansion Alicia had expected, but a tasteful two-story home with large windows facing the Chesapeake. "Safe house," Diane explained tersely, as she parked in a garage that closed automatically behind them. "Owned through multiple shells, untraceable to the Landon family. You'll stay here until further notice." The interior belied the home's unassuming exterior, state-of-the-art security systems, reinforced doors, and windows of bulletproof glass disguised as normal renovations. Alicia noticed small cameras positioned discreetly in corners, their tiny red lights indicating constant surveillance. Diane led her to a second-floor bedroom already stocked with basic necessities, clothing in her size, toiletries, even textbooks from her university courses. "How did you know my class schedule?" Alicia asked, picking up her economics textbook with a mixture of gratitude and unease. The question earned a rare smile from the stoic driver. "Mr. Landon is thorough. Your education won't be interrupted more than necessary. We've arranged for remote coursework submission through secure channels until this situation resolves." A soft knock at the front door sent Diane moving with fluid efficiency, hand sliding beneath her jacket to a concealed weapon as she checked the security monitor. Her posture relaxed marginally as she recognized the visitor, unlocking multiple deadbolts to admit Richard Landon himself. He entered with quiet authority, nodding acknowledgement to Diane before turning his full attention to Alicia. In the soft lighting of the safe house, she noticed details missed in their previous encounters. The faint scar along his jawline, the calculating intelligence behind his composed expression. "I apologize for the disruption to your life," he began, removing his coat to reveal an impeccably tailored suit that somehow seemed appropriate despite the hour and circumstances. "The Kiernan family doesn't forgive interference, and they're particularly motivated to eliminate witnesses after their failed attempt." Alicia crossed her arms defensively, sudden anger flaring at the casual way her entire existence had been upended. "You could have warned me properly that night instead of leaving a cryptic business card. I might have prepared, might have made different choices." His expression softened with something akin to regret. "You're right. I underestimated their response timeline, and overestimated my ability to contain the situation before it touched your life. That miscalculation is why we're taking extraordinary measures now." Diane excused herself discreetly, moving to the perimeter of the property for a security check. Once alone, Landon's formal demeanor shifted subtly, revealing a glimpse of the man beneath the powerful facade as he sat across from Alicia at the kitchen island. "The Kiernan family and mine have maintained an uneasy truce for nearly a decade. Territorial agreements, non-interference pacts, even occasional cooperation when mutually beneficial. Their assassination attempt signals something has changed dramatically." He produced a tablet from his briefcase, sliding it across the counter to display surveillance photos of the assassin from Haversham Hall, alongside documentation of international wire transfers. This wasn't a spontaneous act, but a calculated first move in what appears to be a coordinated power grab across the eastern seaboard. Alicia studied the information with growing comprehension, her economics background allowing her to recognize the sophisticated financial maneuvers disguising the movement of significant assets. They're liquidating holdings, converting to untraceable currencies, preparing for something major. Landon nodded, impressed by her quick analysis. "Exactly. And your background in economics and finance makes you uniquely valuable beyond your role as witness. We need to understand their financial strategy to anticipate their next moves." The realization dawned slowly. This wasn't merely protection, but recruitment. Alicia pushed the tablet away, conflict evident in her expression. "I'm not becoming part of your criminal enterprise. I warned you because it was the right thing to do, not to join your world." Rather than anger, her rejection was met with unexpected respect. "I'm not asking you to join anything illegal. The Landon family's legitimate businesses, shipping, real estate, technology, represent 90% of our operations. What I need is your analytical skill, not your moral compromise." Morning light began filtering through the windows as their conversation continued, illuminating the strange new alliance forming between the university student and the Mafia boss. Alicia's academic knowledge and instinctive ability to read subtle patterns represented an asset neither had anticipated. 3 days passed in the safe house, Alicia's life transforming into a surreal routine of remote coursework and analytical sessions with Landon's financial team. The pendant remained around her neck, a constant reminder of her precarious position between worlds. Her access to Landon's legitimate business records revealed a brilliant strategic mind behind his controlled exterior. The shipping empire stretched across continents, its efficiency and innovation explaining his wealth far more than any shadowy dealings she had imagined. On the fourth morning, Diane's typically composed demeanor showed the first crack of concern as she entered the kitchen where Alicia was reviewing quarterly reports. "There's been an incident at your university campus. A student was approached by men claiming to be police officers asking about your whereabouts." A laptop opened to reveal security footage from the university library, showing Rachel being approached by 2 men whose body language triggered immediate recognition in Alicia. The same predatory stance, the same calculated movements she had observed in the assassin at Haversham Hall. "They're using my friends as bait," she whispered, fingers clenching around the pendant as fear for Rachel overwhelmed her. "We need to warn her. Need to get her somewhere safe before they realize she genuinely doesn't know anything." Diane exchanged a look with Landon, who had entered silently during their conversation. "Already handled. Campus security intercepted them, and we've arranged for your roommate to receive an unexpected study abroad opportunity in Copenhagen, effective immediately." Relief mingled with a strange new guilt. Alicia's choices were now affecting others, pulling innocent people into protective orbits around her. "How many lives will be disrupted because I noticed something I shouldn't have?" she asked, the question directed more to herself than either of them. Landon's answer came with unexpected gentleness. "Fewer than would be lost if the Kiernans succeed in their larger plan. What began as a power move against my family has evolved into something that threatens thousands of innocent lives across multiple cities." The tablet between them displayed shipping manifests that Alicia had flagged during her analysis. Inconsistencies in cargo declarations, weight discrepancies, and unusual routing changes that together formed a disturbing pattern. Her economics training had revealed what security experts had missed. "They're using your former shipping routes to transport something into major East Coast ports," she explained, highlighting the pattern of discrepancies. "Whatever it is, it's being mislabeled, distributed across multiple vessels to avoid detection, and timed to arrive simultaneously." Landon's expression darkened as he studied her analysis, the implications settling heavily in the room. "This confirms our worst suspicions. The assassination attempt wasn't just about eliminating me. It was about removing obstacles to something much larger." His phone rang with precise timing, the caller ID displaying Port Authority Director, as Landon excused himself to take the call in private. Alicia watched through the window as he paced the waterfront deck, his gestures becoming increasingly urgent as the conversation progressed. When he returned, the composed facade had been replaced by focused intensity. "We have 48 hours before their shipments reach port. Whatever they're bringing in, weapons, contraband, worse, it arrives on Thursday night under cover of a scheduled power grid maintenance that will disable most port security systems." Diane was already moving, activating a secure communications channel to alert Landon's security teams. "We'll need to intercept at sea. Customs has been compromised. 3 officials have received substantial offshore payments in the past week." Alicia studied the shipping routes she had identified, a new pattern emerging as she considered tidal schedules and navigational constraints. "There's a bottleneck here," she indicated, pointing to a narrow channel. "All vessels must pass through between 2 hours and 4 U0 AM due to the current shift. That's your interception window." The appreciation in Landon's eyes was genuine as he nodded agreement. "Precisely right. We'll position assets accordingly." He hesitated before adding, "This operation will require my personal oversight. You'll remain here with enhanced security while I'm gone." Something in his tone triggered Alicia's newfound instinct for danger. "You're not telling me everything. What happens if this interception fails? What's the contingency plan?" The question hung between them, heavy with implication. His silence confirmed her suspicion. There was no contingency plan, at least none that guaranteed safety. Whatever the Kiernans were transporting represented a threat substantial enough that stopping it justified extreme risk, even to Landon himself. Dawn broke on Thursday with tense anticipation. The safe house transformed into an operational command center, as Landon's team prepared for the night's interception. Secure communications equipment had been installed in the living room, creating a direct link to vessels positioned along the Chesapeake. Alicia had barely slept, her mind racing with calculations and contingencies as she reviewed the intercepted shipping data again and again. Something still didn't align perfectly, a missing piece in the pattern that nagged at her analytical instincts. The Port Authority maps spread across the dining table revealed standard approaches for commercial vessels, regulated paths that all legitimate shipping followed without deviation. It was while studying these that the realization struck her like physical force. "They're using a decoy," she announced, interrupting a tactical briefing between Landon and his security team. "The pattern we identified is too perfect, too detectable despite their precautions. They wanted us to find it." Landon approached, studying the evidence of her sudden insight with focused attention. "Explain," he said simply, the single word carrying the weight of lives potentially hanging in the balance. Alicia's fingers traced alternative routes through the bay, smaller channels typically used by pleasure craft and fishing vessels. "The commercial shipments are real, but they're diversions. The main cargo will come through here, on vessels too small to trigger standard port security protocols." The realization transformed their strategy completely. Resources quickly redirected to cover the secondary channels while maintaining the original interception plan. Landon's efficiency in adapting impressed Alicia almost as much as his immediate trust in her analysis. As evening approached, Landon prepared to depart for the command vessel, pausing at the door where Alicia stood with unexpected concern written across her features. "This isn't just about your family's territory anymore, is it?" she asked quietly, the economics student now fully cognizant of the larger stakes. His expression confirmed what she had already pieced together from fragments of information. "No. Intelligence suggests they're bringing in materials that could cause widespread civilian casualties. A demonstration of power meant to establish dominance through fear rather than business acumen." The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken understanding of how dramatically their lives had intertwined from that first whispered warning. "Be careful," she said finally, the simple phrase carrying unexpected emotional weight from someone who had been a stranger days earlier. His response came with equal simplicity, a gentle adjustment of the pendant still hanging around her neck. "This symbol means something in my world. Protection, yes, but also trust and value beyond measure. Few outside my family have ever carried it." As his security detail ushered him toward the waiting vehicle, Alicia felt the strange sensation of standing at a crossroads. Behind her lay the ordinary life of a university student. Ahead, the uncertain future shaped by extraordinary circumstances and choices made in split seconds. Diane remained at the safe house, coordinating communications as the operation commenced under cover of darkness. The tension grew with each passing hour, status reports flowing in with military precision as vessels moved into position around the bay. At 2:17 a.m., the first contact was reported. Commercial vessels identified and boarded without incident, their contraband cargo substantial but clearly secondary to the main threat. Landon's voice came through the secure channel, terse and focused as he redirected assets toward the smaller channels. Alicia found herself pacing before the bay windows, watching distant lights on the water that might be innocent fishing boats, or something far more sinister. The analytical part of her mind continued working the problem, sensing something still missing in their understanding of the Kiernan strategy. The realization came in a sudden flash of insight as she studied the tidal charts. The small channel she had identified emptied directly beside an abandoned warehouse complex recently purchased through a shell company. "They're not just bringing something in," she said aloud. "They're storing it for distribution." Diane immediately relayed this information to Landon, whose response was immediate and definitive. "Redirect teams to the Webster Point Industrial Zone. Priority Alpha." The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by the sounds of rapid movement and terse commands. The next hour passed in excruciating silence. Communications reduced to coded status updates that revealed little about the actual situation. Alicia's economics training seemed absurdly inadequate preparation for this night of interceptions and tactical maneuvers, yet her pattern recognition had proven vital repeatedly. At 3:42 a.m., gunfire echoed across the water, distant but unmistakable even to Alicia's untrained ear. Diane's posture stiffened as she pressed her communication device closer, straining to hear details through the sudden burst of tactical chatter. The silence that followed stretched interminably, broken finally by Landon's voice, strained but steady. "Package secured. Site contained. Medical teams required. The brief transmission revealed nothing about casualties or the nature of what they had discovered. Dawn found Alicia still awake, watching through reinforced glass as a boat approached the private dock below the safe house. Landon emerged first, his suit replaced by tactical gear, a bandage visible on his forearm as he helped his security team unload equipment. Their eyes met through the window. No words needed to convey the successful completion of the night's operation or the changed relationship between them. What had begun with a whispered warning in a ballroom had evolved into something neither could have anticipated. Later that morning, as sunlight spilled across the kitchen where they finally debriefed, Landon explained the full scope of what they had prevented. Chemical agents designed for civilian targets, timed for release in 3 major cities. Your analysis saved thousands of lives. The pendant caught the light as Alicia leaned forward, its significance now carrying weight beyond protection. "What happens now?" she asked simply, the question encompassing both immediate security concerns and the larger implications for her future. His answer held unexpected possibility. The Kiernan operation is dismantled, their leadership in custody through anonymous tips to federal agencies. My family's legitimate businesses require exactly your skills in economics and pattern recognition. The choice of what role you play going forward is yours alone. The offer hung between them, a return to her former life now made possible, or a step into a new world where her unique abilities served purposes she had never imagined. The pendant around her neck no longer felt like a borrowed symbol, but something earned through her own choices and capabilities. Thank you for joining us on this thrilling journey between 2 worlds. If you enjoyed this story of unexpected alliances and split-second decisions that changed everything, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to support more gripping tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Remember, sometimes the most powerful moments come from noticing what others miss. Noticing what others miss. Noticing what others miss. Noticing what others miss.